Story we've spoken about several times in the last couple of months. Human Rights Watch say that Ethiopian security forces have killed at least 140 people who were taking part in mass anti-government demonstrations in close to Addis Ababa. It all comes down to the Oromo region. Many students started protesting back in November, saying that they didn't want the capital to be expanded, which was the government plans. Well, about an hour ago, I spoke to Dr. Merera Gudina. He's chairman of the Oromo People's Congress. It's an Ethiopian opposition party. He's in the capital, Addis Ababa, and it was on a really scratchy phone line, so we've actually voiced up his answers so it's easier for you to hear. And I started by asking him about the protests in the country.
Yeah, the protest which has begun a month ago.
The protests which began over a month ago have continued. They're not as fierce as they were, but they carry on. The government has responded in a heavy-handed way, as usual, with excessive force. The region is more or less under military administration. More than 100 people are feared to have been killed, and several thousand have been wounded. And our records say that more than 4,000 are detained, so the area is in crisis.
Military administration. So Bolivia is under crisis.
So tell me, sir, you're saying more than 100 people have been wounded, have been killed. Human Rights Watch has said that it's around 140 people who have been killed. You're saying several thousand have been wounded. How is it that these people have died and been killed? Just give us a sense of the numbers of people protesting, and then what has happened to cause these injuries and these deaths.
The government has been heavy-handed to control a big area of land and all these people. It's peaceful protests that are going on. The army has been deployed in some areas, and armed groups are roaming around. The government is using force and has shot at student protesters. The government is pushing people to the brink, and people are in detention and have been wounded.
You said there that many of the protesters are students. Give me a sense of how many people are protesting every day, and also are they just students or is it a mix of different people?
It's school kids and university students and farmers and many people protesting across the country. From the Kenya-Somalia border, all across the country, people have been on the move. The protest has seen several million people take part.
Tell me, sir, I want to ask you, you said that people are being pushed to the brink. What do you mean by that? Do you envisage further violence?
This is a war, you know. Corruption and political marginalisation is happening. Unemployment, especially of the youth, is rampant across the country. In fact, the government is land-grabbing across the country. In every aspect, the government is crushing the people, taking away their land and their opportunities. Really, this is the country's largest group, marginalised politically and economically.
Well, let's talk about the government. I understand that your deputy of the OPC, the opposition party, was actually arrested a couple of weeks ago and no one's seen him since. Do you worry about your position and your safety?
Nobody has talked to me, to be frank, but hundreds and thousands of our supporters are under attack. My deputy has been incommunicado for the last 2 weeks. The Secretary-General of the party is under house arrest. More than 50% of the leadership are now in detention across the Oromo region, and our members are under attack. My safety is really linked to my supporters and members. If they're attacked, my safety can be meaningless.
Well, that was Dr. Merera Gudina, who is chairman of the OFC, which is an Ethiopian opposition party, speaking to me about an hour or so ago. Let's speak now to William Davison, who's a freelance journalist in Ethiopia. He's currently in Addis Ababa, but just back from a couple of days spent in Oromia, which is the state predominantly populated by Oromo people. William, what did you witness when you were there, and what was the sense you were getting talking to people about what is happening in this government crackdown? Now, that silence would suggest that William is not there. Let's try one more time. William, can you hear me?
Hi, sorry. Yeah, there's been an intermittent connection. I can hear you now.
Fantastic. I don't know if you heard my question, but I just wondered what you'd seen, what you'd witnessed in the last couple of days, and by speaking to people, what they had told you about this government crackdown.
Okay. So sorry, the connection is going in and out here, so I hope you can hear me.
Oh, William, this is so frustrating. Okay, we'll try and reconnect with that line and speak to William in a moment, because it's just frustrating wherever you're listening around the world if William's voice is coming in or out. Let's head over to Nairobi now.